May 14th, 2026, 4:01 in the morning Central Time, the Storm Prediction Center's meteorologists in Norman, Oklahoma, finish their day 4 through 8 convective outlook and publish it to the internet. Most of the country is asleep. Nobody is watching. And in that document, in the clinical, measured, deliberately unalarmist language that SPC forecasters use because they know their words are read by emergency managers who have to make real decisions, there are 2 sentences that are worth reading slowly. Some models suggest ML Cape could peak in the 3,000 to 4,000 joules per kilogram range. And a broad 40 to 50 knot low-level jet is forecast to strengthen late Sunday afternoon. 4,000 joules per kilogram of mixed layer convective available potential energy, 40 to 50 knots of low-level jet. On a Sunday, when an upper-level trough is digging southeastward into the western United States, and a moist, unstable air mass is sitting in place across the Central Plains eastward into the Mississippi Valley. On a Sunday that is still 4 days away. On a Sunday for which the SPC is already writing in its medium-range forecast that the environment will be favorable for severe storms potentially over a large area. Potentially over a large area. In a season that has already produced 260 tornadoes in April, an EF4 in Enid, an EF3 in Texas in early May, and record-breaking hail in Kankakee County. That is what is coming, and it is coming fast. Here is where the pattern actually stands right now. Not in 4 days, but today, May 14th. Because the volatile framing of this broadcast is not about a single future event. It is about the character of the pattern that is running, and that shows no signs of settling into the stable, warm, dry configuration that would let the season pause and breathe. Wednesday, May 13th, saw scattered, damaging wind gusts from the Great Basin into the northern Rockies, isolated severe wind and hail risk in the upper Ohio Valley, and additional isolated hail risk in the Texas Panhandle. These are not the headline events of the April outbreak. They are the background noise of a pattern that is continuously, persistently, relentlessly active. 1 day down, 1 day starting, one system moving through, the next one already developing on the satellite imagery in the northwest, waiting its turn. The atmosphere in 2026 is behaving like a machine that found its operating rhythm in March and has not decided to stop yet. Every week brings a fresh shortwave disturbance. Every fresh shortwave brings another surface low. Every surface low drags Gulf moisture northward ahead of it. And in the warm sector of every one of those systems, the instability and wind shear values that storm chasers spend their careers hoping to see are appearing week after week, with a regularity that is, by the standards of any recent spring season, extraordinary. Saturday, May 16th, is the near-term focus. The SPC Day 3 outlook, published this morning, valid for Saturday, describes a setup in the Central Plains that, while not yet at the level of the April outbreak's most dangerous days, is genuinely significant. An upper-level trough will dig southeastward into the western United States on Saturday as mid-level flow becomes southwesterly over the central states. At the surface, a low will deepen in the central high plains as a moist air mass remains in place from the southern and central plains eastward into the Mississippi Valley. Forecast soundings near the axis of instability in far northern Kansas. At 00 UTC Saturday, have Mel Cape in the 3,000 to 4,000 joules per kilogram range. Right at the threshold, where operational meteorologists stop saying elevated instability and start saying exceptional, with 0 to 6 kilometer shear around 50 knots and 700 to 500 millibar lapse rates near 8 degrees Celsius per kilometer. This environment is favorable for supercells with large to very large hail. The more intense supercell updrafts may be capable of hailstones up to 3 inches in diameter. And in the early evening, as a 40 to 50 knot low-level jet develops from northwest Oklahoma into southern Kansas, the 0 to 3 kilometer storm relative helicity values increase into the 300 to 400 meters squared per second squared range across parts of northern Kansas. 300 to 400 meters squared per second squared. This is the helicity range where supercell mesocyclones become highly organized, where the rotating updrafts develop the tight, persistent rotation that produces long-track tornadoes. The SPC states it directly. There does appear to be potential for tornadoes, and possibly a strong tornado. The uncertainty in the Saturday forecast, and the SPC is honest about this, is storm mode. Will the atmosphere produce discrete supercells, isolated and rotating each, carrying a tornado threat that spotters can track and warn communities about with meaningful lead time? Or will the storms grow upscale into a linear configuration, a squall line, a quasi-linear convective system, a mesoscale convective system, where the hail and wind threat is broad and the tornado threat is embedded in the line, harder to see on radar, harder to warn for, and more likely to occur at night when visual cues are absent? The SPC specifically flags the uncertainty. Adjusting there is uncertainty concerning severe threat coverage and magnitude. The word magnitude in that sentence is doing important work. The uncertainty is not about whether severe weather will occur on Saturday. Severe weather will occur. The uncertainty is about how extreme it will be. Whether the Saturday event looks like a significant regional outbreak or a moderate, more isolated severe weather day. 4,000 joules per kilogram of CAPE and a 50-knot low-level jet are not ingredients for a moderate day. They are ingredients for the kind of setup that produces the events that make it onto the season's highlight reel. The question is whether all those ingredients come together simultaneously in the same location with the right storm mode. Here is the Sunday through Monday period. The 4-day window that the SPC's Day 4 through 8 outlook is already flagging as potentially the most significant setup of the coming week. An upper-level trough moves eastward across the Intermountain. Ahead of the trough, a moist and unstable air mass is forecast across much of the Great Plains eastward into the Mississippi Valley. The same air mass that will have been in place all week, refreshed by continued Gulf moisture advection, loaded with the same fuel that has been driving the season's activity since late March. Scattered elevated strong thunderstorms will be possible early in the day from the northern plains, eastward into the upper Mississippi Valley. Southward into the central plains and mid-Missouri Valley, strong surface heating is forecast. Some models suggest ML Cape could peak in the 3,000 to 4,000 joules per kilogram range, the same range as Saturday, but on Sunday, with potentially different storm mode and a different placement of the most favorable instability and shear overlap, a broad 40 to 50 knot low-level jet is forecast to strengthen late Sunday afternoon. This, combined with moderate to strong deep layer shear over much of the moist sector, will be favorable for severe storms potentially over a large area. The phrase over a large area in the SPC's Day 4 through 8 language is a specific signal. The medium range product uses careful language because model confidence is lower at 4 to 8 day lead times than at 1 to 2 day lead times. When the SPC says at Day 4 through 8 that severe storms may be favorable over a large area, they are telling you that their current best estimate, with all appropriate uncertainty, is that the coverage of the severe weather threat on Sunday will be broad, not a narrow corridor, not a small, isolated area, a large area. In the context of a 4,000 joules per kilogram CAPE environment with a 50-knot low-level jet, large area is the language that precedes the events that affect multiple states simultaneously. Now here's the broader context that makes this week's setup more than just a collection of individual storm events. The 2026 tornado season is tracking above climatological norms in a specific way that the SPC's own seasonal verification data documents. The season has been front-loaded, heavy in March and April, with the massive April outbreaks producing record activity across the upper Midwest and Central Plains. Typically, in analog years with this kind of front-loaded character, May through June shows one of two patterns. Either the instability shear overlap shifts southward and the season moderates into a more typical warm season character with isolated but still dangerous events, or the pattern remains blocked in a configuration that continues to feed active severe weather setups well into late May and early June, producing a prolonged season that accumulates damage and fatalities at a rate that exceeds the climatological average. The SPC's Day 4 through 8 outlook for Sunday is showing the second pattern. The upper level trough is not collapsing. The Gulf moisture is not retreating. The instability values are not diminishing. Every short wave that moves through the pattern is interacting with the same loaded atmosphere and producing the same severe weather ingredients. This is the pattern that is volatile. This is the pattern that shows no sign of resolving. Here is the specific feature of the current pattern that the SPC's medium range discussion has been flagging consistently for the past week. A persistent mid-level ridge anchored over the southwestern United States, flanked by the active trough pattern to its north and east, that is acting as a heat pump, drawing Gulf moisture northward on its eastern flank, maintaining surface temperatures in the W. Arm sector at values that sustain high instability, and providing the thermodynamic driver that keeps the severe weather corridor active even as individual systems move through. This ridge is not breaking down. The extended range models, the 7 to 14 day products that provide very low confidence but directional guidance, are showing this mid-level ridge structure persisting through at least the Memorial Day weekend of May 23rd through H 25th. If that guidance verifies, Memorial Day 2026 will arrive with the atmosphere in essentially the same volatile configuration it is in today, with the same corridor of severe weather risk from the Central Plains to the Mississippi Valley and the specific human factors. Challenge that a holiday weekend severe weather event creates. Millions of people camping, at outdoor events, at graduation parties, at holiday gatherings, who are not monitoring radar, who have not checked the SPC outlook, and who are in exactly the exposed, outdoor, unprotected positions where severe weather kills people who would otherwise be in their homes and basements. The SPC's new conditional intensity group system, launched on March 3rd, 2026, and now being applied to every convective outlook, adds an important layer to the Saturday and Sunday risk assessment that the previous outlook format could not provide. The CIG system tells emergency managers and the public not just the probability of severe weather, but the intensity of the severe weather if it occurs. For Saturday's northern Kansas supercell environment, with 4,000 joules per kilogram of CAPE, 50 knots of shear, and 300 to 400 meters squared per second, squared of storm relative helicity, the CIG indicators, for tornado intensity will almost certainly be at the high end of the scale, CIG 3 or CIG 4 on the tornado dimension, constructed homes, and threatening the lives of anyone who has not reached a sturdy shelter with below-ground protection. This is the information that was not available in previous severe weather seasons. Emergency managers in northern Kansas and southern Nebraska now have, for the first time, a way to distinguish between a setup where severe weather is likely but mostly weak, and a setup where the probability of severe weather is moderate but where any tornado that forms will be violent. Saturday's setup is the second kind. Here is what to do between now and the weekend. For every resident of the corridor that stretches from western Kansas through eastern Nebraska, through the lower Missouri Valley, through central and southern Illinois, through the Ohio Valley, and into the western Tennessee Valley. Today and tomorrow, Thursday and Friday, May 14th and 15th, are the days to verify your shelter plan, charge your devices, and download the NWS app for your specific location if you have not already done so. The app provides location-specific tornado and severe thunderstorm alerts at the county level, which are more precise and more actionable than statewide alerts. Know the difference between a watch and a warning before Saturday arrives? A watch means the atmosphere is capable of producing severe weather. A warning means it is happening now or is imminent. In a 1,000 kp, 50-knot shear environment, the time between a tornado forming and reaching your location can be as little as 4 to 7 minutes. If you receive a tornado warning on Saturday evening, you need to be in your shelter before you decide whether to check the radar again. The shelter first. The radar check after you are safe. The pattern is volatile. It has been volatile since early March. It is going to be volatile through at least Memorial Day. The Saturday Central Plains setup is real, confirmed in the SPC's Day 3 product, with CAPE and shear values that justify specific preparedness action this week. The Sunday through Monday setup is real, documented in the SPC's Day 4 through 8 product, with the same CAPE and shear magnitudes over a potentially larger area. And the Memorial Day weekend signal, low confidence, directional, but consistent across the extended range models, suggests that the season is not resting before the summer. Severe weather does not pause for the calendar. It does not recognize that it only recognizes atmospheric parameters. And the atmospheric parameters this week are saying one thing with extraordinary clarity: volatile. Exactly as volatile as the season has been, and possibly more so.